This is Seasons of Discontent with your hosts Rick Snyder and Matt Combs on the Hogstye Network.
Welcome to Seasons of Discontent, Season 7, Episode 15, brought to you by Rick Snyder's Washington on social media. And I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
And we're back discussing all things Washington sports and life as part of the mighty Hogstye Network on audio and here on YouTube on video. So, Matt, I guess your sad fans are still sad because Washington lost its third straight game. Looked like bad stuff again. Can't say on YouTube. And I guess I'll let you have first crack at it. I mean, for being a Cowboys loss, usually people have extra angst, but I think they're just tired of losing. So it didn't matter if it was the Cowboys.
Yeah, my friends are still with me. We still need to win. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, it's been 3 pretty bad games in a row. I mean, it's embarrassing anytime you lose to the Lions. You know, we should be used to losing to the Eagles at this point. And, you know, it was all set up for us to go down to Dallas and win. You know, you had Cooper Rush in there instead of Dak. You know, Dallas had not been playing well. I know they just got off, you know, they of course, Cooper Rush is 3-0, but, you know, all the stars had kind of aligned, so to speak, to go down to Dallas and beat them. And then just to put 10 points on the board, Rick, like, I don't know what else to say. I don't have the energy this show like I did last show to rail on them, but it's almost to me like Ron has given up. You know, I heard this on the radio earlier. Ron, you know, look, got here, got cancer, had to deal with a name change, has to deal with scandal after scandal after scandal. Maybe Ron's just given up, you know, and Ron's just waiting to leave this place and probably just ride off into the sunset and enjoy, you know, the time he had in Carolina. But then again, realistically, Ron Rivera's coaching record, yeah, he was an established coach and he had won a NFC championship, but that had to really be, that was more on Cam, you know, and to be honest with you, Rick, too, maybe it's not just coaching with this team. I mean, you look at the winners out there, look at the Buffaloes and the Kansas Cities, and they both have elite generational quarterbacks. This team does not have that. You know, I know McDermott came from the Rivera coaching tree and he's doing a hell of a job up there in Buffalo, but it doesn't help that he has Josh Allen, or it doesn't hurt, I should say, that he has Josh Allen. Carson Wentz is closer to me than he is Josh Allen when it comes to being a quarterback.
Yeah. I know people are ready to jump off Carson Wentz right away. And I'm like, listen, the first 2 games, he threw 7 touchdowns, you know, so you act like that never happened. It's only 2 weeks ago it happened. And the offensive line has just murdered his chances. I'm not saying Carson's been great, but he had 2 seconds average snap last week or on Sunday to throw. 2 seconds. You know, that's like saying 1 Mississippi, 2, bam. You know, here's where they made their big mistake. They let Eric Flowers and Brandon Sheriff leave, and they replaced them with 2 guys that Ron knew that are old, and they stuck. They got hurt. You know, they had to pull Trey Turner in the middle of the game, not for injury, but because he was playing so poorly that they put in Sadiq Charles. That's almost unheard of for an offensive lineman to be pulled during a game. You know, Ron said, well, he just wasn't able to do what he wanted. Yeah, because I don't know if it's injury, but either way, he was playing horrible. So instead of having your Pro Bowl right guard, you had a guy that can't stand up, and now you're replacing him with Sadiq Charles, who's never done anything. And your left guard in Norwell has not really done not much. You've had 3 centers in 4 games. The last one played okay, I thought. And they're getting Tyler Lawson back, but they may stay with Martin on that one. Charles Leno is the only lineman that you have that's really doing anything for you. Cosme has been really disappointing this year.
Yeah.
So when you offensive line, they did okay run blocking. They averaged pretty well on that one, but they can't pass block at all. And when they know that, they're tearing you up. So I don't blame Carson on all of this. Again, it's also play calling. So I wouldn't be quick to dump Carson on this.
Well, and that's a topic that has been brought up the past couple of weeks now is, Eric Flowers didn't get signed. He's a free agent. Do they make that phone call? But he may listen, but he could also give them the double guns and say, you shouldn't have released me in the first place. That's a little bit of a testy issue too. I mean, he was slated to make what, $5 million or something like that this year, and they're not going to try and pay him that. So I don't know. Maybe it depends on if he wants to play. But yeah, you talk about Norwell and Trey Turner. Yeah, they were guys that Ron knew, but they were also guys that left Carolina, one with the Jacksonville, one with the Steelers, and both of them were not re-signed by their respective teams, so they were free to come here. That should tell you something. Good linemen don't fall off of a tree or just get booted to the side by the team that they're playing for.
The play calling has been disappointing on both ends, but especially offensively, because if you're only going to have a couple seconds, it's got to go to short passes, and they just didn't do it. You got 3 receivers out there supposed to be so good and a tight end. You didn't use them. And you've got to just go shotgun and do this, and that's just how it'll be. I mean, Wentz dropped a dime for that one touchdown to Dotson. That was a beautiful pass on there, but you didn't play to the strengths of that so much. So I thought it was a poorly called game on everything.
Scott gets into this thing where, last year they talked about, Scott didn't utilize his wide receivers, and with Samuel hurt and all this stuff. This year it's like there's this emphasis where we have to throw to wide receivers. Now, they didn't do that in the first half of the game yesterday. It was all little dink and dunk stuff, but that's all he could get off because of the protection. But it seems like it's like look, these are the guys that we have. Has Terry caught more than 5 balls this season? Terry is invisible in this offense. Everything's going to Curtis Samuel. Jahan Dotson's the only one that can catch a touchdown. And yeah, it was a great throw by Wentz, but the kid's got hands, and now he's going to be out for 1 to 2 weeks. There was a De'Ami Brown sighting. I forgot who wore number 2 on this team. But yeah, there's just such an emphasis this year to use your wide receivers, but they don't have the time. They don't have the protection. And it's like Scott's afraid to go to a quick screen to the running back, or hell, Logan. I didn't even know Logan had a jersey yesterday until he caught that one pass.
Yeah, you have to take your tight ends and make them fullbacks or whatever to protect the quarterback. Mm-hmm. You got 3 receivers supposed to be so good. Spend a tight end like Bates, put him back there, and say, don't let anybody get by you. The one thing that can help them this coming week will be Brian Robinson will probably play. He's going to hit the field on Wednesday. They'll start. You have 3 weeks to decide, but everything sounds like he's going to be doing well and should be playing. And he's a big dude. Hopefully he can block too. Haven't seen him really do that in the preseason, but that's going to help. He's a real runner too between tackles. So you'd like to think, I don't know what to expect from him after all that just happened, but I think that can help him. But, you're going to have to do more coverage on this. And Carson's got to quit being a statue and running into defenders. That's on him too. But Dallas only had 2 sacks. So it's not like they mismatched there incredibly. The other thing is the corners. Man, corners, Jackson's just stunk. Let's be honest. They're just abusing him. Mm-hmm. Buller's not been much better. And Jamin Davis at linebacker, they just embarrassed him 3 straight times with CeCe Lamb. Like, here we go. And they just did it again and again. You can't cover that player on there. That kind of player, you just can't chase him. He doesn't have the speed.
That's why I said this last week, the first one that's got to go is Del Rio. The philosophy has to change. The coverage has to change. Fuller, Jackson, Davis, half the defense is playing in a position that they're not accustomed to. They're playing coverages that didn't make them get paid. We brought William Jackson here from Cincinnati. He can't play the style that you want him to play, and you gave him all this money. Kendall Fuller, you brought him back after you traded him for Alex Smith. He had a great year the first year he came back, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, they expect him to do all this other stuff. The only one on the defense that's really shining is Forrest, yep. And that's a kid that's, he's just hoping to get his next deal. So he's going out there and balling out. Interesting thing I saw today while eating dinner, Landon Collins is visiting the New York Giants, so he's still available. Maybe Landon was the linchpin to this whole thing. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Curl's played pretty decent. Your two interior linemen, Allen and Payne, have played very well. But where's Sweat? Does Sweat have to have Chase on the other side to do things?
Yeah.
You forget Sweat had a bad year too, and he missed a bunch of games with COVID and an injury, and then his brother was killed. So he missed like half a season. And he's done some pressure, and he hasn't played horrible, but he hasn't done what he's paid to do either.
I know yesterday he was getting held at seemed like every damn play.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming the referees, but you look at the penalty differential. Yes, the Commanders are an undisciplined team. We saw that, but not 13 to 4 or whatever the penalty differential was. It was insane. But that's a typical Dallas game. Dallas gets all the calls, we get none. St. Juste is still adjusting to this league. He's not played that bad. I don't know. It's just, I think it still boils down to this team not having a dynamic linebacker that can create pressure. You got Holcomb, who's a tackling machine, sure, but that's after they get past the defensive line. Jamin Davis is left out to try and cover CeeDee Lamb. I'm sorry, Jamin Davis can't cover CeeDee Lamb. I don't think many linebackers in the league can cover CeeDee Lamb. So you're setting him up for failure. And, Ron pointed him out in the press conference and all that crap. But, I don't know. At the end of the day, I just think Ron's done. Ron's done with this.
So before we go, the last thing to talk about is there was a nice picture of Jerry and Dan at midfield with Jason Wright and Tanya. They're all happy friends. And the Commanders Instagram staff put that up, among other things. There's Dan looking like he just got off the boat or something. And I just thought, Jerry loves Dan because he beats him twice a year. And he's also, somebody to take focus off of Jerry in the league matters. I just thought I wouldn't have put that picture up. I know they're good friends. Dan used to just talk stuff to Jerry, and when he first came into the league, he knew Jerry was kind of his idol in a way. He used to talk stuff, and Jerry just ignored him for a while. But finally, they got over him. But he just thought Dan would tell him, "Oh, we're going to beat you. We're going to beat you." And Jerry was like, "Whatever, boy." So it was an interesting thing to see. I don't think you've ever seen Jack Kent Cook, posing with the Cowboys owner. So it shows you the rivalry's dead, in my opinion.
Before we go, what'd you think of the black jerseys?
Ugly. I thought they were the Steelers JV team playing or something. And, I wrote a column for 106.7 The Fan that said, you can change the name of the jerseys, but you're just putting lipstick on a pig. So go watch that go read that if you can.
Yeah, I mean, now, it's like the old Johnny Cash line. Why do you always dress in black? Are you going to a funeral? Well, maybe I am. And they went to their own.
Yeah. All right. We're back on Thursday with the next one. We'll talk about the next couple games. I'm Rick Snyder.
I'm Matt.
See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Seasons of Discontent on the Hogstye Network.